Hello everybody, this is the biggest piece of the drawing, and when I left the studio today I'm not 100% sure that I like it. So I think what I might do after Inktober is to carry on and work back into it. It's quite a big bit, and again it all comes back down to composition. I drew the whale first and I fitted the other fish round, and I didn't have time to do a rough sketch, so I'm a little bit concerned that they kind of all blend together. But when it's all dried and the ink is dried, because when you put ink on wet it's quite dark, and when you leave it for a few hours it does become lightened, and so I will have a better look at it tomorrow when it is dry. And it is a really large piece of the drawing, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to section it all off very well so you can see. Now, that's my dog. He sometimes does that when I'm talking. I'm just waiting for my grandson to arrive. He's coming from university and he's going to stay with us for a week. It's reading week at his uni, so we're all excited. And Eddie's like laying the bathroom floor. We have just got a little bit left to do in the bathroom, and that's done. So while he was doing that, I nipped into the studio to do the whale. Now, humpback whales are one of my favourite things in the world, and if you'd like to go back into my playlist, you will find some work that I did for the whale conservation, and prints are available and all the money goes to them. I also have another video which was inspired them to come and seek me out, and that is the whales in the wood, and I'll try and link that at the back of this one. And I posted that one and somebody's seen it and recommended me to the whale and dolphin conservation, and I've done work for them, and like I say, prints are available. Now, as you can see, this is quite a large piece, and I am trying to desperately move it around to see that you can get it all in bit by bit. And as you can see now, what I'm talking about, the other fish being quite close, and are their patterns going to disappear? And like I say, this technique of doing the water is quite new to me as well, and because he's such a large area of grey, you know, I am still apprehensive even now watching this while I'm doing the narrative for this, still apprehensive. So in a way it is good that I can see this as a viewer to sorry about all the I'm watching and thinking at the same time. Looking at it in the third person, it's much easier for me to make a much more considered outcome. And like I say, this type of shading is one of the first times that I've ever done it with the watermark on it. And again, it is all different shades of grey, and it is difficult to get I find now that putting the whale in, it's very difficult to get definition between the fish that are closer and the whale in the background. And so if I do pause for a little bit, it's because I'm looking to see where now I'm really sorry that the leg of the tripod is in the way, but like I've said before, it's an A2 piece of paper and it's really difficult to fit it all in. I do think it makes you, looking at it when it's gone back on the easel, it does make you look a bit more, and without the colour it is a little bit difficult to make a distinction. Now Eddie did say to me last night when we were doing some work in the studio, what about putting some blue in the whale, and that would make him more distinctive. And while I'm watching this, I don't know whether I might do this after Inktober when I go back through, to add a bit of blue to it, just to give it that little bit of definition. It might be quite nice. I might get a scrap of paper and test it out. But like you can see, the whale does take up an awful lot of area within the picture. I'm still using watered down Indian ink. And like everybody, I don't suffer much from the inner critic, because if I did, I wouldn't. I know that it's quite a big piece, and I would worry about it more. I do worry that I've made it too crowded, maybe. So even I have anxieties. It's just how we look at these anxieties, and mine is, it's an awful lot of hours. And now, was the composition okay, or was it too crowded? Again, won't know until I step back and look back in the studio tomorrow. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you learn far more from your mistakes than you do from your perfections. I was telling one of my students this today. You know, perfections are okay, but you don't really learn anything from them. So, you know, next time, if I was to do this project, maybe next time I will make the components further apart and not close together, individual studies. I mean, the next one I am going to do is going to be beetles, so I don't think there will be that beetles as big as the humpback whale to intrude on the space. I'm just putting in his fin now, as you can see. I did try making the tripod even higher up, but when I did that, even zooming in, it was so far away. So I thought it was best that I did little sections and showed you the little sections that I've done. And again, moving around, and here he is back again. You know, sometimes when you watch yourself, it's quite hypnotic, because you actually forget that you are the one that's done it, because you've been so focused on, you know, applying the ink, making it, that you know, when you stand back and have a look, I can't say I'm actually looking at it judgmentally. I just think now I'm not in the studio, just relaxing and watching it. You know, I'm not actually sitting here looking at it being very judgmental at all. I'm just seeing, you know, which bits went where, and did it work well, not work well. And I suppose reflecting on how I can actually change the piece once it's complete. I don't know if there will be bits that I want shown you. I think you'll probably find I'm working on the tail now, which is out of view, and coming up his back. I think what I might do when I come to define it, when the whole piece is over, I think what I might do is I might put the tripod up beside the table, and let you see the process of how I change it and give it more definition, so you can see the picture as a whole, rather than laying it flat on the tabletop. I'll put it up on my easel, and you can see me working back into it. I mean, it may be that with every painting you start off with the blank piece of paper, you start off drawing it all out, and then it becomes the ugly stage, and the ugly stage is the bit in between where it starts to come together. And with my students, I do try to tell them that the ugly stage is only a minute time. The more you work back into it, the more the ugly stage goes. And now I'm doing the big flipper, and the lionfish is in the way, along with the leg. Now I will make a confession. I was driving along in my car counting the fish in my head, and I did think I was one fish short, so I put the shrimp in. And it wasn't till yesterday, after I'd done the shrimp and recounted the fish, I realised I now have 32. That's the other problem with this composition as well, is I got very confused with the jumble of fish of how many fish I actually had. So I do have one more fish than I needed. But hey, that doesn't matter. It was a good idea of looking about where the composition could go, where he could go. And I put him in front of the whale's fin. I think next time I do it, I think I would probably do the whale first and not the shark. I think if I'd have got the big piece out the way first and then worked back in. Again, it's all a learning curve, so maybe I would do the background first. But I wanted to do him halfway through to give me something to look forward to. Let me know what you think. That's the best thing. And as you can see, the black is drying, darker, and I'm going back in again, darker again. And tomorrow it might need some more. It was quite cold in my studio today. It's been really wet and cold today. A really not a very nice day at all. Really damp, getting into your bones. A damp day. And let me know what the weather's like where you are. I think tomorrow is going to be better. I'm going with my friend tomorrow. We're going to Oxford, which is about 20 miles away from where we live, because Oxford has got its yearly Oxford Pot Fest, which is about 70 ceramicists from around the country are going to Woodstock, which is about 2 miles out of Oxford. So we're going to go around and see it tomorrow. I'm working in the morning teaching art, and then me and Anna May are off to Pot Fest, which will be fun. I haven't been to a Pot Fest for a long time. I mean, I don't know if any of you know this, but I'm a fully qualified ceramicist and potter. There is a difference. They do get a little bit upset when you confuse the two. So just to clarify, a potter is somebody that makes functional ware on a wheel. And by functional ware, I mean cups, saucers, teapots, jugs, any sort of household or garden receptacle. And a ceramicist is more like a sculptor. Now, there are lots of ceramicists that throw in the wheel, and then they use that process to help them make something out of ceramic, more of a sculptural form. So there is a difference, and potters hate to be confused with ceramicists. They are quite both purists in their own right. And I think the last one I went to was Rutford, which is near Nottingham, I think. So I'm quite excited about going, as I've not seen any ceramics in this purest form in a long time, because in a previous life that's what I was, a ceramicist. And when I moved up north, I thought that getting clay and everything would be quite as easy as it was down south, because I lived about an hour's away from Stoke, and in England Stoke-on-Trent is the epicenter of clay. But no, it was very difficult to find clay out and about. It was quite difficult. So that's when I turned my hand to paper mache, my hairs. Now I am probably getting an extension done on my studio, But I've been looking at one of my kilns has been moved about with me for a long time. It's a bit battered and the elements have gone. So my husband Eddie said if I find out how much the elements are, he will put new elements in. They're not that expensive in England, and so I will invest in some, and then I might film myself making some ceramics. And I'm quite excited about that, and I'm hoping that by going to Potfest tomorrow I can get my enthusiasm back. It's very different working in clay to what it is being a painter, for obvious reasons. Now you can't see what I'm doing at the moment. I'm probably going in pen now. So yeah. It's quite interesting because some of the areas watching this doing in pen I quite like and get quite seduced by, and some of the areas I'm not. So like I say, the jury is out on this. Just doing all these little barnacles. And that's the other thing, the whale has a massive body and not a lot going on. I'm going to colour in his eye now. Hello, Mr. Whale. I've done his eye a lot bigger than it actually is because I wanted to give him some expression, the same as the other fish. I am wondering to myself as well what it would be like, although this is a large piece, I wonder what it would be like when on the small side. When I've got it photographed and I do prints and I make the prints smaller, I wonder what the detail will look like then. I have no idea. That I want to point to you and show you, but obviously I can't. But the little fishy right by his eye, I do think I need some definition just to bring him forward a little bit. So I'm just thinking to myself now, I'm going to put some more dark behind there so he pops forward. I would recommend anybody filming themselves actually, just to have a fresh pair of eyes. It's like when people look in the mirror when they're painting, because it gives them a different perspective, and that's what this is doing now, making me think a bit more. Now obviously you're out of the picture a little bit because he's so long, so I'm working on his body with the pen. And going over I'm just trying to give it a bit more definition. But I do think I will darken that area off a lot more, I think. There is something not quite right, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm desperately rattling my brains here, and I can't think what it might be. I might think I might need to put some white in there. And let's slow this down. I'm going to slow that down because it's too fast to go in.